Every winter, the atmosphere above the Arctic becomes a stage for one of nature's most powerful forces, the polar vortex. This vast, swirling mass of cold air spins high above the North Pole, trapped by strong westerly winds in the stratosphere. Normally, it stays stable, keeping the Arctic cold and the mid-latitudes mild. But sometimes a dramatic event occurs called stratospheric warming, and when that happens, everything can change. Stratospheric warming, or more precisely, sudden stratospheric warming, is when temperatures in the upper atmosphere rise sharply over just a few days. This sudden burst of warmth disrupts the polar vortex, sometimes even splitting apart or pushing away from the pole. When that happens, the cold Arctic air that was once locked up can spill southward into regions like North America, Europe, and parts of Asia. The result? A brutal cold wave, the kind that brings snowstorms, ice, and record-breaking low temperatures. This chain of events isn't just a weather story. It's an energy story, an economic story, and an investing story. Because when a polar vortex disruption sends freezing air into the United States, demand for heating surges. And that means natural gas demand skyrockets. Natural gas is one of the main fuels for heating homes and generating electricity in the U.S. When cold weather hits, people turn up the heat, utilities burn more gas, and prices climb. Energy traders and investors know this, and they watch every weather forecast, every temperature anomaly, and every whisper of a potential stratospheric warming event. When forecasts suggest a strong polar blast, investors often move quickly into natural gas-related assets. Exchange-traded funds, like the United States Natural Gas Fund, ticker symbol UNG, or leveraged ETFs, such as BOIL, become the focus. As heating demand rises, these ETFs can see sharp inflows and short-term rallies. It's a pattern that is repeated many times. Cold weather, higher demand, rising prices. But it's not always so simple. Even though a polar vortex event can cause a spike in prices, the natural gas market today faces other powerful forces. The United States has become one of the largest producers of natural gas in the world. New drilling technology, large shale reserves, and improved infrastructure have all led to abundant supply. That means that while cold weather can drive prices up temporarily, strong production often limits just how far they can go. There's also the issue of timing. Weather models can change quickly. A predicted stratospheric warming event may not always translate into an actual surface cold outbreak. Sometimes the cold air stays trapped over the Arctic, or it hits regions where gas demand is lower. If traders and investors pile into natural gas too early, or based on forecasts that don't materialize, prices can fall just as fast as they rose. The structure of natural gas ETFs adds another layer of complexity. Many of these funds don't hold physical gas. They track futures contracts instead. Futures markets can be affected by things like contango, where future prices are higher than current prices. This can create what's called roll costs, meaning the ETF might lose value even if natural gas prices stay flat. So, while a polar vortex and stratospheric warming event might push prices higher for a time, the actual returns on these ETFs can vary widely. Still, there's no denying that the polar vortex is one of the most important drivers of winter energy markets. A single stratospheric warming event can reshape global weather patterns for weeks. In 2021, for instance, a major disruption of the polar vortex contributed to the Texas freeze, a crisis that sent natural gas and electricity prices soaring and exposed the vulnerability of modern energy systems to extreme cold. When we talk about the link between the atmosphere and the economy, this is what we mean. What happens tens of kilometers above the Earth, where few people ever go, can ripple all the way down to our homes, our energy bills, and even our investment portfolios. For traders and analysts, the key is to stay alert, watch the forecasts, track stratospheric temperature data, and monitor storage levels and production trends. The best opportunities often come when weather risk aligns with tight supply conditions. For the average person, understanding how the polar vortex and stratospheric warming work isn't just about science, it's about awareness. When you hear about a sudden warming event in the stratosphere, it can be an early warning that colder days are coming, along with higher heating costs. In the end, the story of the polar vortex and stratospheric warming is a story of connection between air and earth, between science and finance. It shows how something invisible high above the Arctic can influence markets, industries, and everyday lives thousands of miles away. So the next time you hear meteorologists talk about the polar vortex or a sudden stratospheric warming event, remember, it's not just weather jargon. It's the spark that can ignite a chain reaction across the atmosphere, across the energy grid, and across the world markets. Stay informed, stay warm, and keep an eye on the sky, because what happens up there can change everything down here.